engines with the latest news, insights, and behind-the-scenes action from the world of stock car racing. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual observer, we're bringing you the checkered flag and coverage. So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and get ready to make the next left turn with us, where every lap is an adventure.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Variety Sports Network. This is The Next Left Turn. I'm your host, Josh Edwards, and my guy with me, as always, Aaron, the cast man. We're breaking down the first race of the playoffs, the Quaker State 400 in Atlanta. Atlanta never lets us down. That's what I'm going to say. This race, 2 stages through this race, it was very calm. You had a couple of little accidents, nothing major. It was a different race. I expected more. I expected more aggressiveness to start the race. I didn't expect it to be as calm as it was. Now, saying that it was calm, there was a ton of passing all day long. The racing was fantastic, and it was extremely clean. I thought for the first race of the playoffs, we were going to see a little bit more aggression. I guess we'll probably save that for Bristol in 2 weeks, the short track race. So, and Watkins Glen's next week, so we know there's going to be some aggression there, but it's not like when we're at the ovals, and we all know that. So, but Quaker State 400. Aaron, did you enjoy the race? Was it a good one for you?
So I watched it kind of late. I was running around doing some stuff. So when I recorded it, it said it was 5 hours long, and I'm like, what happened in this race? And I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't really look like much. But yeah, no, of course, as always, this whole season, the third stage, always eventful. We'll get into that later, yep. But yeah, definitely a good race.
Well, it definitely was an eventful third stage. First stage and second stage, like I said, super clean, very little action. So we'll blaze through that as we get through here. But before we start the race, we had some movement. Martin Truex Jr. and Ty Gibbs both were dropped to the rear of the field for unapproved adjustments. These were changes in some wiring they did because Denny Hamlin had an issue with it. So it was just some electrical wiring, but they decided to take care of it before the race and deal with starting in the back instead of the alternative.
How can guys
not fixing it and waiting for it to go bad?
Yeah, how can guys in the 70s and the 80s get away with stuff like this back in the day with way worse stuff for cheating? But these guys now can't. Like, do they not know the tricks?
You can't do the tricks now, man. It's not like it used to be.
Gotta find some new tricks.
Because I don't know that that would be a great conversation when we get Kenny Wallace on. That would be the conversation to have with Kenny. That's going to be the way to do it, unless you can get Greg on first.
For real.
But let's get to it. So those two got dropped back to the rear of the field to start the race. This looked a lot like races we've seen recently with Michael McDowell on the pole. The dude who got his 5th pole of the season. Let's be honest, he's not the greatest driver in the NASCAR world at all, not by any means, but the dude has touch when it comes to qualifying on big aerodynamic fast tracks. He finds the line, he's steady, he knows how to race those tracks. He is I would say a super speedway specialist. Even though Atlanta's not super speedway, it just runs like one. Would you agree with that, Aaron? Like that's what he is, much like we have road race specialists and we have guys who are better at the short tracks. He is definitely a super speedway specialist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He had a pretty decent race too.
Yeah, he had a real good race. And his teammate, both of them. Front Row Motorsports does a good job on the big tracks. They typically really do. So yeah, it was McDowell and Blaney to start up front. We had 260 laps in this 400-mile race. And as always, you guys know I enjoy showing you the start of the race. So let's get down to that.
10 races to go. The playoffs begin now. It's time to bring the action. Atlanta Motor Speedway, let's go. And McDowell has got his Front Row Motorsports teammate Todd Gilliland tucked in nice and tight behind on the low line. Almost a repeat of 2 races ago at Daytona. Berry up high, that purple car, 3rd in line, number 4. 10.
So they did some fireworks before the race. They were stealing from Worldwide Technology Raceway. in their pre-race festivities, and that was all the smoke you saw in that replay of the start. It was
Oh, I
the
thought
clearing of the fireworks.
I thought they did the fireworks because the Braves won a game and they tied with the Mets in the
Oh,
wild card because
jeez.
they're in
Here
Atlanta.
here we go. He's already getting into the baseball chatter because the Mets have some way found life. We're not going to get into my team because they are sucking wind. Although I will say this, I said they were going to lose 4. They were only going to win 4 out of the next 22 games, and they're at 500 or better in those games because I thought they were going to get slaughtered with all the tough teams they're facing. This isn't baseball talk. If you want baseball talk, join us 7th inning stretch on Wednesday nights going forward. For the rest of the year, we will be off this week, and we will be on every Wednesday, and then some extra going into the playoffs. Anyways, not to plug my other show. That was the start of the race, and it was good, and it was side-by-side racing, and McDowell got out front early, and he stayed out front for a long, long time. Like Aaron mentioned, Michael had a very good race. The car was excellent. Like, they were dialed in. The one thing we saw during this opening 30 laps is McDowell didn't get many challenges. Like we saw during the most of the rest of the race, and I'm not saying that. Okay, so during the second stage, we didn't see any challenges for first, but you saw challenges up and down the entire track, the entire race. We didn't see cars getting lapped, like because we don't normally do in Atlanta, but we had some good action. It was super clean, but you could really see the aerodynamics in this race. That when a car got stuck in the middle, it almost looked like the '90s in those cars, where it would just rapidly fall back, almost like they dropped a gear. We saw Ross Chastain at the end of the race. He just got out of the draft at one point, and he fell like 9 spots and on the backstretch.
Did you think McDowell was going to win a few stages?
I thought for sure he was going to get one. So I thought for sure he'd get stage 1, and then I knew it was going to be up to the pit crew going to stage 2 because they had the capability to get all the way through stage 1 without a pit stop. So everybody was running full throttle all the way through the first stage. Because there was the opportunity you had. It was a great placement stage, and it was good, right? It was fun, man. It was fun, and we didn't have a lot of the rubbing and the action, but it was a fun race to watch. I enjoyed stage 1.
And also too about this, so I just want to know what's going on going forward with commercials, no commercials, because people were talking about it last week. Oh, well, there's a lot of commercials at Darlington, and then when Daytona they did like that split screen. So I wonder if NASCAR heard everybody, and then they did the split screen again. So I wonder if they're going to do this going forward, because you're not missing much when it goes to commercial. Like the entire race didn't look like you were missing anything.
No, and so they actually announced this. I should have sent it to you. I'm sorry. They announced that during all the playoff races, a green flag lap will not be missed during the playoffs. And then these other big tracks with the big races, they were doing the same thing. So like the Daytonas and stuff like that. So it's just for the playoffs. All green laps will be televised. The only thing you're going to see full cautions for, or full commercials for, are cautions. So I actually have an actual answer for you that I'm super confident in, Aaron. There you go.
I thought NASCAR was just watching all the pods.
They're not that good. They're not that good. They're not that smooth. They don't care that much. Just being honest. So we get to like lap 30, and Blaney has been challenging the entire time that McDowell's been out front, and Blaney finally gets a good run on him going into 1. It's a cut. Like when he goes in, he's on his tail going into 1, and he cuts hard to the inside. And he gets the great run. It was like slingshot engaged, gone. See you later. At this point, Blaney really doesn't look back. Larson does challenge him like in the next 2 laps. He tries to get side by side, but Austin Cindric doing the right thing as he and Blaney are both in playoff positioning. He does the right thing. He pushes his teammate forward. Blaney clears Larson, and that's almost the end of what really came to be for the first stage, because Bowman comes up with Larson in like the 43, 44 lap range, and they're trying to get to Blaney, but they can just never get the pass done. I mean, Cindric and Blaney, those Penske cars were lined up. They were in it today.
They saw a lot of that too. A lot of
Oh,
the
God,
Penske
everywhere.
combos. We had a little bit of the Hendrick combos after Larson left. After
Trackhouse.
Yep, doing the same thing today. So that was actually quite interesting for me. This entire first stage.
Yeah, this race was weird because this is the first race that I can recall all season where you didn't see a Toyota up front or in the top 10 mix for the majority of the race. Like the
They're not
Toyotas
very good at Atlanta.
really struggled at this track.
Yeah,
I don't remember that from earlier in the year though. I just don't. Like I remember the dramatic finish in the spring, and it was amazing. Obviously, one of the closest finishes in history, and that's how Suarez got in. Let's bring this to light right now because it's going to come up in the conversation here in a little bit. Daniel Suarez did win the spring race in Atlanta. That's how he got into the playoffs because there was no way on God's green earth he was going to make it off points. He got in on the win. So it's just good, clean racing.
Yeah, it just feels like a Chevy Ford track.
It really does.
What, yeah.
Dodge was good here back in the day, if I recall correctly. But
yeah,
this is an American track by far. The Toyotas don't have this one figured out like they do at the majority of the other tracks. God bless them. But we get a major accident, and I say major, and it's because of who's involved, not all of what is involved. Kyle Larson, something happens. It looks like it's his right rear tire starts to go down in the turn. He overcorrects. He ends up slamming into the outside wall. He takes Chase Briscoe out at the same time. It's only a 2-car accident. The caution comes out, and this basically ends stage 1 because there were only 4 laps left. But Larson hit hard. I mean, he smoked the wall. Now, before that, literally, he was on fire. But right before that, I want to show you, I got a little clip here of how the passing was going and the movement and how good this racing was. If you guys didn't get to see it, I'm sorry. But we're going to do the best we can to fill you in. This is just kind of the racing that we saw all day, the passing we saw all day.
Here comes that 48 machine of Alex Bowman again. Larson down low. Here comes Cindric in the 2. We've got some movement after 30 laps here in the Quaker State 400.
At 34, McDowell drove right to the rear bumper of Blaney and out of the track. The car looked very loose. Larson now attacking Blaney.
I mean, the movement is insane.
Good stuff.
How much this car is just shuffled.
Super close. Blaney, Larson, and teammates working together here as Cindric pushes Blaney ahead. What a shot. Here comes
and that was the push machine right there at the very end of that clip. That's the push that basically sealed it up for Ryan Blaney. He never really got challenged any further in the stage. That's really what it was. It was it after that. But then
the only thing I don't understand in this is you said that Larson hit Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe did it to himself. And I'm like, dude, I know you won last week and you think you're safe in the playoffs, but you're not. Why would you do this?
This was probably going to be one of his best chances to find a way into the next round of the playoffs. And yes, he struck Larson, but Larson was on fire and had smoke galore coming out of his car. So who knows if Chase just lost him when he was coming across the track. But I do have a clip of that real quick. We're going to bring this one out. And like I said here, this is just Larson. You'll see, we were just talking about it. It looks like he blows a tire and gets around. I got 2 or 3 different shots of this one, so we'll watch them all here real quick. Here's Larson right here.
Back end comes around, and then it went to the right. Now, it appears to me – who hit him? Who was that got him? That was Briscoe. 2 playoff drivers. So that's one of 2 things. So watch this saying the back end starts around first. And when it starts around, he overcorrects it. And that is very easy to do in this race car.
So that's one of them. I mean, it was a violent wreck. I was honestly kind of worried that he was going to be hurt coming out of that one. But he hopped out of the car and was out of the car before AMR safety team even got there, which is great news. Now here's an in-car look for you guys. So we love these. That's harsh. Boom. I mean, if you're Larson, you're thinking it's over. Like all right, cool, I got through it. Everybody's basically passed me, and then just get railed in the rear end.
The only good thing about Larson is that with all the wins that he had this year, this is the one race where he can kind of take off. Because the people were saying it too this week, they're like, okay, well, if Larson doesn't do well or if he falls back, it's okay. he still is going to advance to the round of 12 just by the point system, and all that. So at least now he got this one race out of the way where he can just kind of, whatever.
Yeah. But he's still going to be somebody to be reckoned with next week.
Oh, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, at least he got that 1 week where he's like, all right, well, it's not going to affect me too much.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, even though he finished second to last, but yeah, he's still pretty comfortable. So because that accident was what it was, we ended the stage 1 in a caution. So Ryan Blaney does get the win in the stage points for stage 1. Austin Cindric, his teammate, gets second. Alex Bowman third. Joey Logano fourth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up there in the mix for no absolute reason at all. Ross Chastain 6th. Your boy Chase Elliott 7th. William Byron 8th. Martin Truex Jr. 9th. And Ty Gibbs 10th. It was a good stage. Like I said, it was pretty calm. Nothing too crazy going on with it. But it was good racing. It was consistent passing. They were finding the different lanes in the track. It really was a lot of fun. What's up, CP? How are you tonight? Thanks for jumping in the chat for us. It's been a while since I've seen you. I hope you're doing well. Your Mets are kicking butt. Oh man, you guys are gonna team up on me, aren't you now?
Oh, yeah. I texted him before the show,
You dirty birds. All right. Well, let's get back to racing. So we get into stage 2, and I guess we should do this. So right before stage 2, right? I guess the end of stage 1 and stage 2 start. I don't know how they categorize that. I've never looked into it. Blaney leads the field down to the pit lane, and the pit lane was standard. This was a standard stop for the most part. We had was this the one where it got crazy? Was it the first pit stop or was it the second set of pit stops where things started getting a little fun?
I think the second set.
I think it was okay. So this one's pretty standard. And I'm sorry, we have 2 different sets of pit stops that went crazy. That's why I had to think about it for a second. But Bowman's pits crew does the job, gets him off pit lane first. We see a little bit of a shuffling in the field, as we always do during pit stops, but nothing major. The green flag drops. Blaney is actually behind Cindric because Cindric got in front of Blaney during the pit stops. Like that was some of the shuffling around. We didn't have major changes, like I said, just some shuffling. But Bowman and Cindric take off running down the stretch, and Bowman and they're even. They're running, and Cindric is locked in. He almost looks like Blaney did in the first stage. The car is in lock. I mean, it is sticking to the pavement. He is fast as all get out. And he eventually ends up getting around Bowman with a little bit of help from Blaney. And again, we go back to the same style of racing. It's very calm, very collected, very conservative and reserved. And then out of nowhere, we have a random caution. You just hear him say caution, caution, and then you hear debris on the track. So somehow they got some debris on the track. This is the first of 2 instances today.
Yeah, was that like a sign or something?
That's the second one. The second one, it was a sign that was on the fence. That's the one.
Oh yeah, that's right. The small debris. That's right. It was like in the corner or wherever.
Yeah, this was the small debris up against the wall. Yeah. So
yeah.
We get a small caution there. They get the debris off the track. Nothing really crazy goes on here. I mean, we don't even get pit stops. I mean, you get a couple pit stops, but you don't get the big pit stops yet. We drop the green flag. Blaney's behind Cindric again. He gives him the push, and Cindric is back to the lead. And shortly later, Cindric wins stage 2. So Penske wins stage 1 and stage 2. Cindric gets first. Blaney gets second. Bowman gets third. Suarez 4th. Byron 5th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 6th. So he's having a great day today. Ross Chastain 7th. Having a great day today.
Yeah.
Chase Elliott 8th. Ty Gibbs 9th. And Christopher Bell 10th.
Did you see that the 2 guys aren't in the playoffs? Stenhouse and I believe it was who was the other guy? I want to say Kyle Busch, but I don't think it was. They went up like 22 spots, and it's like they're not even in the playoffs, and they're just like dominating here. Like Austin Cindric, why I said Chevy Ford matchup. He was cruising. I mean, I thought he was going to get at least a top 3 today or something because he was just coasting in this second stage. He was flying.
Penske literally had the setup. And they don't typically do this. Penske does not set all 3 cars up the same, or rarely even sets 2 of the cars up the same. Now they'll trade information like every other team will, but these cars looked like they were set up the same today. They were running the same lines. When you got the in-car cameras, it sounded like they were running the engines the same way when they were coming off, going off the gas, going into turns. The way they were braking was very similar. So, like I said, they were pretty much in lockstep today, and it worked. Penske was locked in, Trackhouse was locked in, Front Row Motors was locked in. Hendricks, I wouldn't say Hendricks was locked in today, but they were on the edge of it. I mean, they were there all day long.
Did you like Chase Elliott, where they were showing like inside his car?
Oh, I loved it.
I thought it was really cool. I was surprised that they did something like that.
Watching the feet move and everything, and how he's going through. Yeah, no, I think that stuff's great. Especially for the people in iRacing who are doing this stuff digitally. I mean, I don't know how effective it works on a video game, but I'm sure you're learning something from it because those are supposed to be the closest things to simulators that we can get our hands on. But I mean, yeah, stage 2 was pretty cut and dry and straightforward and simple. And then we went to the ever dramatic stage 3. So this is the first set of pit stops where we get a little bit of action. Cindric ends up having a bad stop. He loses like 11 spots during the pit stops. But he had to wait so long because he was completely out of fuel. He ran out of fuel in that run. So they had to get the car all the way full. They felt it was better to take the time then and lose some position at that point than to have to come in earlier during a green flag run, or even during the next caution and take even longer to fill up and lose spots close to the end of the race. I completely understood that. I thought it was a smart strategy opinion. It gives you time. You're already running well. We know the car's set up correctly. The weather is not changing. The track is not changing dramatically at this point in the race. We did get a penalty in this pit stop, and that was because Justin Haley blocked off Tyler Reddick and forced him below the double line. This was right before the end of the stage, so the penalty got enforced here.
Definitely a good day for not knowing how to pit and come out of pit road today. That's for sure.
Golly, it was horrible. How many times did we see cars get pushed out into the grass and bump into each other? I mean, I got this clip right here. And this isn't the worst thing we've ever seen on pit lane before. But this just shows you how the traffic was today because Atlanta's pit road, you enter from turn 3 and you got to drop to 90 miles an hour going all the way around that turn to get to pit lane. And then when you get to pit lane, it drops down to like 45. So these guys want to do everything they can not to pit at this track under green flag or in green flag circumstances, because just if you got bad luck, you're going to go pit, and by the time you're coming out, there's going to be a caution, and everybody else is going to get a pit, and you're going to be way behind, lap down or multiple laps down. So, but this is one of the clips of just what it was like on pit road today in Atlanta. Boom. That's a beautiful thing. So he couldn't even get into his pit stall. He had to go back for another lap around.
Sheesh.
I mean, we saw this all day long on pit road. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of the clips for him. There was one I was really hoping to get that I just couldn't find a clip for it. Here's another one.
Logano and Hamlin hitting into each other. At first, I thought, I was like, yes, the curse continues.
Now here's Suarez on pit road. Boom, there's Logano and Suarez getting into it, just trying to stop. And this was just on a fuel go. So this is actually later in the race, but since we were covering pit stops, I figured we'd show this. A lot more damage on pit road than we normally see.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and not even slightly. I mean, a lot more. I mean, that was 2 of them. I think there were at least 4 incidents on pit road today. So,
Chase Elliott got hit by Corey LaJoy. Yep. Coming off the pit, or like 3 wide.
I mean, he got sandwiched. Chase Elliott got sandwiched.
Yep.
So I mean, it was like the guys forgot how to drive on pit road today. That's for darn sure. So when the green flag finally drops after all the chaos on pit road over the last 2 sets of stops, it's Stenhouse Jr. and Chastain up front, and Stenhouse actually gives Chastain the push and puts him out into the lead. And then, what is it? 60 lap? No, it's not 60 laps. It's like 9 laps later. Stenhouse Jr. and McDowell start battling it out. And now we're starting to see the aggression come play. Stage 3 opens up and we start getting some excitement. We're seeing paint get traded at this point. Cars are, I would say, they're not just bump drafting anymore. They are shove drafting at this point. Some of the pushes you saw looked like the egregious move that Austin Dillon pulled on Joey Logano that caused him to wreck Denny Hamlin a couple weeks back. I mean, those were the kind of runs these guys were taking going down the backstretch, pushing each other. And it got interesting because you'd see the back end of the cars wiggle loose. And I was like, oh, here comes the big one. And we never really had the big one.
Nope.
We never had it today. But I thought for sure it was going to be coming out of 2 in the middle of the backstretch. That's where I thought it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be in one of the turns. I thought it was going to be on the backstretch just from the pushing. So around lap 175, John Hunter Nemechek all by himself. He gets loose off of 2. He slides up into the wall, slides down across the track into the inside wall. Caution comes out. This is where we see a lot of the field ends up hitting down pit lane now, and now we're getting strategy coming into the race because we're inside of 90 laps to finish. This is tires, this is fuel, this is strategy. We know we can run 80 laps on fuel. Do we think that there's going to be another caution or 2 cautions before the end of the race? This is where we start seeing things happen. Bubba Wallace ends up staying out. Ty Gibbs stays out. Those are like the 2 big notable names that stayed out for this one. But Chastain leads most everybody else down pit lane. After the cycling of the pit stops, Blaney is somehow back up in the front at this point, and he's worked his way back up a little bit. But Wallace is up front. Gibbs is up front. And then Blaney's there. And Chastain's there, and it was such a mixture from the stage 2. I can't remember where everybody was at, but Blaney shoves Wallace into the lead right off the bat. Wallace tries to block Gibbs going into turn 3, and then Gibbs moves his way up on the outside, and he works his way up anyways, and he just it turns into there's a good battle there for a little bit, wouldn't you say, Aaron?
I would think so, yeah. Especially I think after Bubba got hit, what he dropped, like 6 spots?
Something like that, yeah. But they run like this for a little bit. And then finally, Gibbs clears Wallace after they've danced back and forth for a while with some help from Chastain.
Bad luck, Bubba.
Bad luck, Bubba. Here we go. Well, no, he's not bad luck yet. He didn't get bad luck till the end of the race.
It's just like this whole season, in my opinion. Like he just is getting the worst luck.
You try to jump me way ahead, like 60 laps ahead.
I'm just saying in general. Like after he got hit right there, when he was in first, ducked down a few. I'm like, bad luck, Bubba.
I mean, you never know what could happen for him though, the way it goes.
True.
But anyways, Wallace ends up catching back up to Gibbs. At this point, he dives to the bottom. He gets the lead. Like 5 laps later, we have some action. And Chris Buescher, who had the very disappointing end to his regular season last week with Harrison Burton getting the win and getting to advance the playoffs, that knocked him out of the playoff contention. But he gets loose off of turn 2. He ends up clipping Ryan Blaney's left rear, and Blaney spins across the track, and Martin Truex Jr. gets collected. So here again, we have 2 more playoff contenders involved into an accident with less than 60 laps left in this race. It looked pretty bad to me. I saw Blaney's car initially, and I was like, he should be drivable, but I don't think he's going to be competitive. I knew Truex Jr. was toast. And then Buescher's contact, it looked bad, but it didn't look like horrible. Like Larson's looked way worse. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree on that because I was trying to figure out who was in it because I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And then I saw Chris Buescher hit in like that. I was like, oh, maybe Blaney's done. And then
that's what I thought.
Looked all right to me because if they would have said something if it wasn't all right, but yeah, definitely not as bad as Kyle Larson's.
Well, my initial reaction was, oh, Blaney's done. It's over. He's out for the race.
Right. Yeah.
So and then when I got that second look, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? That he might be able to stay out there. Like my initial reaction was, he's done for the day. But yeah, once I got that second look, I was like, all right, not nearly as bad as Truex. He should be good to go as long as nothing broke on the inside. And this is the one thing, like I would say these cars are fairly durable, but it's something about their wheels.
Oh yeah, we've seen it all season too.
Yeah,
all
and I don't know
season.
exactly what it is about the wheels, but it's how the wheels are connected to the tie-in rods or something down there that they'll get knocked out of balance or out of alignment and it screws them up. And
Do you think
that's
it's
something I think NASCAR needs to work on.
the one nut when obviously when they put the tires on and change it, it's literally just one nut that clips instead of having like an actual car tire? Maybe that's kind of messing up, which will mess up the tie rods and all that. I don't know. I'm not that big a car expert. I watch car shows, but I'm not.
I am less of a car expert when it comes to mechanics than you are.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. I mean, as far as I'm concerned with my knowledge, it sounds plausible. But then at the same time, is it really? I don't know. I don't know how good the technology is with those. But IndyCar and F1 run those same kind of lug nuts. And they don't ever have issues.
Interesting.
But their cars are built completely different too. So maybe
they are different.
Being a stock car. I don't know. If somebody out there in the world that's watching the show knows the answer, please enlighten us. We love to be more educated. But back to our strategy in here in stage 3. So Wallace and Gibbs head out to pit lane at this point, but basically the rest of the field stays out. This is where I was talking to you guys a little bit earlier about the strategy of the fuel and the tires. This is where we get that first big gamble. But Kyle Busch is all the way up front now. He ends up having this really good race today. He's in it till the very end. And when the green flag drops, it's Busch, it's Byron. Busch gets a great lead off of him off turn 2, and he runs. Ty Gibbs makes a push at the same time, and he's pushing to go 4 wide at this point, different places across the track because he's got those fresh tires. And we started seeing this more and more in stage 3. The 4 wide attempts, the pushing of the cars. Did you anticipate the big one coming, or were you waiting for more at the end? Like, did the 4 wide give you any pause?
I thought the big one was coming when I saw my DVR at 5 hours in NASCAR. So yeah, I really thought a big one was coming, and it always happens before. What was it? Before 4 laps left. There's always a big one or something stupid that's going to happen. It's going to cause overtime. So I was like, yes. And then when I saw that was happening, I was like, okay, big one's coming. Maybe it's going to be interesting to talk about. And then it didn't happen until whenever we're going to talk about the last 4 laps.
We were let down. But with about 40 laps left to go in the race, Gibbs is charging. I mean, he looks like at this point he could steal this race. He could go get it. I think he gets up to like 5th or 6th place with about 40 laps left. And he is working the outside, much like Eric Jones did for the first 2 parts of the race, the first 2 stages where Jones just rode that outside wall and he was making it happen and he was pushing and he was making other drivers uncomfortable because he was running it so well. This is what Gibbs started to do. It takes Gibbs a little bit of time, but with 27 laps left, he finally is getting up to William Byron. And he pushes Byron into the lead, and he starts working on Byron himself. And by the end of that lap, he's gotten around Byron, and now he's in the lead. And he has the lead for like the next 12 laps. And then out of nowhere, here comes Mr. Suarez. Just like he did in the spring, he's going to make a late race run to get the W. And I'm like, well, that would only make sense. He's driving the Quaker State car today. It's the Quaker State 400. He would sweep Atlanta for the season. That would be something great for him in his career. So with 15 laps to go, Gibbs is in the lead, and Suarez and Busch have now come together, and they are making a run on Gibbs. About 2 laps later, Suarez is side by side with Gibbs, and it is on like Donkey Kong. I mean, we at this point, I'm thinking to myself, we're about to have some fantastic racing, and we are have an exciting finish. That's all I could think about. Like, I stopped what I was doing. Like, I was in the kitchen cooking. I'm listening to the race at this point, and I stopped, and I'm like, all right, walk my having butt over there, and let's go watch what's going on. With 11 to go, Busch gives a shove to Suarez. Suarez gets into the lead, and all of a sudden, caution comes out for debris. It's a Walmart sign off of the fence, has come down on the track. So you got to get a caution out there, get somebody, get that cleaned up. With that caution, it doesn't take long. We lose like 5 laps. When we go back to green, we got 5 laps to go. It's Suarez, it's Gibbs. They're side by side into turn 1. Gibbs clears him off turn 2. Suarez gets a run in turn 3. Gibbs throws a block on Suarez to the inside, and Gibbs holds the lead. This is what it's like for the last 4 laps of this race, ladies and gentlemen. It is constant ducking, moving, cutting, passing, pushing. It was awesome. This was by far the best part of the race. You could have not watched any part of the race. Watch the last 5 laps. You can get all the excitement you would need. With 4 laps to go, Logano is pushing Suarez at this point. They're on the outside of Gibbs. Suarez dips down to the inside. Logano goes to the outside. They go 3 wide. I mean, this is lap by lap. It's insane how much they're moving around. I skipped my Chris Buescher video. I'm so sorry. I skipped the Blaney Truex video, but I want to show you this since I'm a little ahead of this, but it's more recent to what I was talking about. This is back when Gibbs and Suarez were fighting.
Blaney with a big run through the middle. Now he's able to get to that top. Cleared the 9 of Chase Elliott, stacking up on the bottom a little bit. Chastain blocked the 12. Now the 20.
You see Blaney's worked his way back up after the accident.
What did we say right at the beginning of this race?
I mean, how excited were you that you had drivers that you like
big stage, big
just
pressure
creeping up to the win? And no matter who it was, you would have been happy regardless.
Well, at this point in the race, yeah. But I mean, I thought it would have been fitting for Logano to win because Blaney got stage 1 and Cindric got stage 2. I knew all the other guys had gotten it. I just wanted to see Logano get up there. I didn't know if he was going to have enough. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to have enough going into this race or going into this part of the race because of how good the other cars were. But he was doing such a good job pushing. I didn't know if he was going to be able to use that coming out of turn 4 to cross the finish line and get a run at it. But we'll get there. So with 3 laps to go, Gibbs' tires or something wears out, something goes wrong. He just kind of fades a little bit. And at this point, it's Logano and Suarez. It's their race to go. And they're just side by side. They are sticking side by side. Nothing's going to stop them. With 2 to go, we have an incident. Harrison Burton and Austin Cindric end up rubbing fenders coming off of turn 2. Burton ends up hooking Noah Gragson, who was not even involved in their little bump and rub. And Gragson gets turned. He ends up spinning out, goes into caution. We're getting overtime in Atlanta. Could you ask for anything more at the end of this race with what you had the last 3 laps? No, give me as much more as you can.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Every freaking time. It's this whole
It's a beautiful
thing.
It
is an overtime.
So we get the start, and it's Logano, and so it's Logano and Blaney behind him. And then you got Suarez and Chastain behind him. So going into overtime, it's Penske versus Trackhouse. They're lined up. We're ready for the great finish. I don't have the start of that, but I will give you a little indicator of what we have. I have like the last half lap. So they're side by side for quite some time, all the way through the first lap of overtime. We get to the second lap of overtime. Coming out of turn 2, Blaney gives Logano the push, and they both clear Suarez for a short amount of time. Suarez quickly pulls up even with Blaney, and they are fighting for second place while Logano is out front. Let me get you guys this clip. This is the last clip. This is them crossing the finish line. This is for the win.
But is there a late run? Remember
There's
how
the push.
this finished.
Chastain ends up in the wall there.
But he's able to keep it going. Has Suarez got something special like he did in February?
Very reminiscent of the spring race.
Into the wall. Caution comes out of the checker.
You see the big one in the background. Denny Hamlin gets spun.
Joey Logano prevails in this first playoff race. And now we start the playoff, boys.
Hamlin was off this entire race. I don't know what his strategy was, but it was not working.
He was extremely slow. They didn't look like they could handle. I thought they were just going to ride it out from the beginning, from listening to the beginning. But let me get these other couple clips up here. I have clips of the accident here ready for us. I got the in-car camera for Denny Hamlin and Harrison Burton here for you guys. This is the final lap. This is the accident. You know, Denny's got to have a bad race every once in a while, and I know he's having a bad run of luck recently. with penalties and everything else. But I mean, dude just had a bad race all day long. Like he never. I mean, the only time he sniffed the front was when everybody else went to the pits, and he stayed out for track position and gambled a little bit, and then he only stayed up there for what 10 laps, and he never got to first. I think the highest he got was second place. So
yeah, something like that.
It was just not his day, not in the slightest. I mean, this was a big race. Start of the playoffs. I mean, let me show you where we're at in the playoff standings as things are. Can I blow this one up? Yeah, I can blow this up. Here we go. So in first place for the playoff standings right now, it's Joey Logano, then Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Ty Gibbs. And below the cut line right now are Brad Keselowski, Harrison Burton, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Briscoe.
Would not have expected Keselowski right there underneath.
See, I'm thinking Keselowski and Truex Jr. I didn't think either one of those guys were going to be down there.
Truex, I thought so.
I thought it was going to be Suarez and Cindric. I mean, you can at least see my argument.
No, yeah, I can see your argument. I don't know. Truex has been just weird. I think ever since he said I'm not coming back next year, and I don't know. I feel like he just cares more about fishing and hunting. I could be wrong. If you want to come on, Truex, let us know. I'm kind of baiting you in. But yeah, no, this is just weird. He's literally the second to last for the. Well, I guess it's around 12, so he got cut 4, but.
Right. I mean, I don't know, man. I think he's having a bad run of it too. Especially, it's a bad way, in my opinion, to go out. And it's not like it's his fault. Like, he's not trying to go out this way.
This is concerning for me for Josh Berry. I mean, not Josh Berry. Chase Briscoe.
Why? Because that's the ride he's taking in next year?
Yeah. He's taking the 19. And the 19 is playing like this. It's like, oh, boy.
They're going to change that whole car. That whole thing's going to change and set up anyway. So I'm not too worried about it at this point. But I mean, it was a great race. So let's give you the finishing order here. So Joey Logano did get the win. Suarez second, Ryan Blaney third. I mean, that was a kind of a photo finish there for second and third. Christopher Bell fourth, Alex Bowman fifth, Tyler Reddick sixth, Kyle Busch seventh, Chase Elliott eighth, William Byron ninth, Austin Cindric 10th, Daniel Hemrick had a great race himself, finished 11th. Justin Haley had a good race, finished 12th. Watermelon Man 13th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 14th, and Mr. Corey LaJoy, who still doesn't have a ride next year, 15th. Carson Hocevar 16th, Ty Gibbs 17th, Ryan Preece 18th, Brad Keselowski 19th, Austin Dillon, who had a good stage one and was up there for a lot of that, ends up finishing 20th. Zane Smith 21st, Michael McDowell just can't get the big one done at the end, finishes 22nd. J.J. Yelly 23rd, Denny Hamlin 24th, B.J. McLeod 25th, Eric Jones, again, disappointing finish 26th, Todd Gilliland, disappointing finish 27th, Barry 28th, Bubba Wallace taken out in that last lap accident 29th, Cody Ware 30th, Harrison Burton 31st, SVG goes 32nd, John Hunter Nemechek 33rd, Noah Gragson 34th, Martin Truex Jr. 35th, Chris Buescher 36th, Larson 37th, and Chase Briscoe bringing up the rear at 38th. I mean, definitely a different race today. The playoffs are going to be different. I'm looking forward to the rest of the way. I think it's going to be fun. Watkins Glen and the Roval are probably my two least favorite tracks that we have coming up in the playoff, but they should provide some kind of excitement. I do like the playoff format this year, how we get we get Atlanta, then we go to a road track, and then we go to Bristol for one round of the playoffs. I like that we're getting different kinds of tracks for the stage. I think that's cool.
And it's only going to get more interesting next year.
Oh, yeah. Well, next year's schedules, we'll talk about that later, but next year's schedule, I think, looks awesome. I mean, there's some other things I would like to have on it, but I mean, the schedule looks great. I mean, we get rid of the Chicago street race. That'd be fantastic. And go back to just running Chicago land. I'd be happier there. But that's just me.
Yep. I mean, I feel bad for people in the Midwest area, but it's whatever. They've seen enough.
Yeah, we have Indianapolis in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's like the what did I see? I'm too tired to figure that one out. But the only thing I'm looking forward to, because I live in Connecticut, if no one knew about that, is that the Truck Series is coming to Lime Rock in June. So that is going to be cool for me.
If you want to fly me out and score me a ticket, I'll come watch it with you.
If only I had the money.
Yeah, if only I had the money, then I wouldn't be asking you for the flight and the ticket. But next week we are at Watkins Glen, 90 laps, 220 miles, Watkins Glen, New York. It's bowling at the Glen. So that will be 2:00 start next Sunday afternoon. Then we go back to Bass Pro Shops Night race at Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee, 500 laps, 266.5 miles. That's a Saturday night race at 7:30. We will be here the Sunday night. We will not be going Saturday night on that because it's going to be a 7:30 start for you. It's at least a 4-hour race.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be here Sunday, 9:00. Following week, Sunday, 9:00. Aaron, anything else you got going into this next week?
No, just to quote Mr. Waltrip, buggity buggy buggy, let's go racing.
Sounds good to me. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for dropping in tonight. Make sure you check out the 7th Inning Stretch, talking the Gridiron, Saturday Showdown, Wrecked with Ranger, obviously the Next Left Turn with us, and all the other great content Variety Sports Network is putting out. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.